This video is going to cover questions 10 through 15 on your review, and it focuses on solving quadratics by evaluating square roots. So the first thing we want to do is make sure whatever is squared, so power 2, the mean squared, is by itself on one side. So we see it's already by itself. So what we have to do is get rid of that power of 2. The way you get rid of a power of 2 is by taking the square root of it, because it will cancel out that x squared. And you'll be left with just what's in the inside. However, what we do to one side, we always have to do to the other. So I went ahead and took the square root of the other side. Now the square root of 25 is 5, is what most people tell me. However, you cannot forget that it's both positive and negative 5, because negative 5 times negative 5 is also 25. Now to solve these, you're going to break them into two equations. To get rid of a minus 4, we're going to add 4 to both sides. That works for both equations. And I will get x equals negative 1. And over here you get x equals 9. So you'd write them together, x equals negative 1, comma 9. And you put the braces over it, or the curly brackets. And that's how you solve it. So let's do some more problems like this. Now, you'll see that, like I said in the previous one, you want to make sure that whatever is being squared is by itself. And however, we see this time that there's a 2 out front. I can get rid of that 2 first, and that's what I need to do first. So in order to get rid of a number that's right next to a variable, we always divide, because right now it's being multiplied. That leaves you with x squared equals 100. Now that term with the exponent of 2 is by itself, so now I can take the square root to cancel it out. And I get x equals 10 times 10 is 100, and negative 10 times negative 10 is 100. So we're going to put positive and negative 10. And this time this is our answer because we don't have anything left over there with x. All right, we're going to start this off the same way. There's, again, a number in front, so we're going to divide by that number. And that leaves us with x minus 3 squared equals 72 divided by 2 is 36. Now the term with the square is by itself, so we're going to take the square root, which cancels out the exponent of 2, and drop down what's left in the inside. The square root of 36 is positive and negative 6. Split them into two equations. Oops, sorry. To get rid of minus 3, we're going to add 3 to both sides. And that leaves us with x equals negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. And x equals 6 plus 3 is 9. So we write our final answer, x equals negative 3, comma 9, again with the curly brackets around it. We see that the squared term is by itself. So we're going to go ahead and take the square root of both sides. Give us x plus 15 equals the square root of 49, which is positive and negative 7. 7 times 7 is 49, and negative 7 times negative 7 is 49. Split it into two equations. We're going to subtract 15 from both sides in both equations. I'm left with x equals negative 22 and x equals negative 8. So I'd write this x equals negative 22, comma 8, negative 8. And put our curly brackets around it. That's set notation, so that means the different possibilities there. All right, this one's a little different because I have a 1/2 out front. In order to get rid of a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocals. So the reciprocal of 1/2 is it flipped, which would be 2/1. So we're going to multiply 2 over 1, and that cancels out this fraction. And I'm going to multiply by 2 over here. 2 over 1 is the same thing as 2, so I'm just not writing it in its fraction form on the right side. That leaves me with x plus 5 squared equals 2 times 2, which is 4. Now we have the squared term by itself, and we can take the square root of both sides. Give me x plus 5, drops down. Square root of 4 is positive or negative 2. Split your equations. Now to get x by itself, we need to get rid of plus 5 by subtracting 5. That's just basic linear equation step there. That will cancel out, leaves us with x equals negative 7. That will cancel out, and that leaves us with x equals negative 3. So we'd write this x equals negative 7 comma negative 3. All right, so we need to get our x squared term by itself, so we need to get rid of minus 10. We do the opposite, we're going to add 10 to both sides. That gives us x squared equals 64. Now we need to take the square root of both sides to get rid of that power of 2. That leaves us x equals positive or negative 8. 8 times 8 is 64, and negative 8 times 8, negative 8 is 64. That's all for solving by evaluating square roots.